Let's get going here. All right. I know I need to work on my editing. I know. So again, happy new year. I just wanted to take this time and make a quick video really quick. I know a lot of people are out here are making New Year's videos and new things to do. Um, but I actually was inspired by something I watched last night, and I wanted to make a quick video and to share my sense on it. Um, it was a documentary that I watched on Amazon Prime Video, and it was called Borrowed Future. Um, it's basically a documentary about student loan debt and how the impending debt has caused such a and it has been for quite a while now. It's really left, I would say, particularly millennials on down, maybe actually starting from Generation X, my generation on down, but it really started to affect millennials and Gen Z, which a lot of times we tend to confuse. Millennials are actually like in their um, they're they're going into their 30s, and the younger ones are the Gen Zs. But in any event, it has really caused a detriment to individuals' lives, and created quite such a deficit within the American financial system. Um, we all know that entering into college, um, they like to come at you with student loans. You can take out this loan and so on and such and forth. Um, but after watching this documentary, it made me really think about what I really wanted to focus on this year, and that was actually um, paying down my student loan, to where I can actually, because if I focus on it hard enough, I can pay it off in a good 2 years, maybe a year and a half, but 2 years. So I wanted to make this video because watching the documentary, and I've watched other documentaries on debt and student loan debt, I realized how much we have normalized debt in this country. Um, I know people who have debt and they'll just kind of put it off like, that's student loans. I'll get that paid off whenever, when. But is that the way we should be looking at it? We should be approaching student loan debt like we would any other debt. And something that my sister put me up on that I didn't realize until recently, she had shared with me a podcast from Susie Orman. I think most people know who she is by now. But in any event, do you know that student loans, and this was a wake up call for me recently, they can garnish your social security to pay off student loans. So if that's not a wake up call, I don't know what is. They literally can take payments out your social security check to put towards a loan payment. So for anyone that's everyone has their their New Year's goals, which sometimes I think a lot of times we'll come into the new year and we'll have like this list of goals that we'll want to achieve, and if we don't achieve all of them like within a certain amount of time, say 6 months or even 3 months, we begin to get discouraged and just kind of like wrap it up and then want to start off with a whole new list. Um, Something I'm kind of going into is just really focusing on specific things. We always tend to think in materialism, like getting things or taking away things. But part of a New Year's resolution, with improving oneself, is paying off debt, maybe working on if you have anger issues, wanting to change how you respond to things, reevaluating friendships. If you see yourself growing, and a lot of times it's not other people that change, it's you change, and then you make the decision on how you may want to have a relationship with this particular individual. One of the purchase a new house or um, a new apartment, as far as like renting, or if you want to rent for a little while instead of buying. All these type of things we tend to come into the new year with. But I think the key thing is to kind of focus on one to a few things as opposed to just kind of having a lot of things. And I don't want to say realistic, but being intentional about it and being true to yourself. Life is very much like walking down a sidewalk. You walk down a sidewalk, you may see a rock or something, and you go around it, and you walk back on the sidewalk. And it's life is kind of a lot like that. But sometimes we can be walking and we'll see something in the sidewalk, and instead of walking around it and get back on the pavement, we will choose to go down another block, or we will move over but then keep going over in that direction that we wasn't intended to go in the first place. So I say that to say that I decided one of my main focus is going to be, and I only got a couple of things, is paying off debt. We need to learn how to look at money in a different way. We're not taught, growing up, I would hear, save money, but how do you save money? How to look at money. We don't look at money in the way that, say, someone who has knowledge about money will look at money. Recently I was actually going through my receipts, just kind of looking at debt. I have no other debt but student loans. But, when I was looking at it, like, for instance, I got all these like receipts. I tend to keep receipts, and it wasn't the amount of receipts that got me. It was the dates on these receipts. And what I mean is I'm going to the store like every day to buy something. Do I need to be going to the store every day to buy something? I don't. And I'm buying frivolous stuff. You go into the store and you get something, then you find yourself going to the store the next day to get something else. And what that's told me when I thought about it is, am I going to the store to get stuff I need, or I'm just going to the store because I may get a taste for something, so I'll go and grab it from the store? So a lot of times we get into debt based on wants and not needs. Student loans, when you go to school, is unfortunate because education should not be costing the amount of money it does. For any Gen Z and younger people that may see this video, don't feel like you have to go to a top rated college. The education system is kind of balanced some to where, years ago, community college used to have a certain reputation and looked at a certain way. But now that's changing, and more students are starting to gravitate towards that because the tuition is a lot cheaper. And honestly, you're going to come out knowing the same information than you did if you were to go to a regular college, because something that college doesn't teach that it used to is teaching you how to think. It's especially getting an undergrad degree nowadays. Undergrad is almost the equivalent of going to like an advanced high school, believe it or not. And then going to grad school, which I just finished grad school in 2019, so just before the pandemic. That's kind of like, I feel like grad school was how undergrad used to be, maybe like 50 years ago or so. So yeah, but go into school if you're going to, go into college. Make sure know what you're going for and to understand what you're getting into. Like, they send you all the paperwork, and a lot of times you'll have the advisor or someone telling you what it says, opposed to you taking the time to say, okay, this is nice, let me go back and look at this for myself and kind of do some readings. Basically understand that there's a difference between unsubsidized loans and subsidized loans. Um, Unsubsidized, the interest accrues as soon as you graduate, whereas the subsidized is usually like 6 months after you graduate when the interest start to accrue, including having to repay back your loans. Um, as far as private loans, that's a route I never took. I am thankful I never did that. I will highly suggest do not take out any private loans whatsoever. I don't care, under no cost. Um, Something that used to be valued in the past, and then I would say probably around 20 years ago, they started coming away from that, is having a trade or a vocation, and now that's starting to come back as having a valuable experience. So, um, when it comes to your education, knowledge and information is a lot more available than it was when I was in undergrad. I mean, I was carrying books going to class. But I would say that, and I also understood in undergrad that I had to pay that money back. And I didn't realize that till a conversation I was having with my advisor, and she was saying, well, when graduate and you got to pay this money back. And then I started thinking, like, wait a minute, I got to pay this money back? Shoot, I got to really think about this now. So, and when that happened, once I came to that realization, I started taking out only what I needed, instead of them, because a lot of times they'll say, oh, you're approved for $20,000. Just because you're approved for an amount doesn't mean you have to take that amount. So I started only taking out however much my classes cost, and that's it. I didn't even take out any extra for books. I had a part-time job. I would pay that money to pay off the books and other supplies myself. So, and then a lot of times you will get that refund check back. Don't get fooled by that refund check, because they will send you that refund that's left over after your class has been paid for. You're thinking that's free money. That is not free money. Refund checks are not free money. That's still part of the student loan. So a lot of times when I would get that check back, I would take it right back to the office and say, here you go. And they're like, oh, no, this is your money. They don't even tell you that. They make it think like it's free money. They're like, oh, no, it's your money, your refund. And it's like, no, it's not. It's still the government's money. Y'all just giving me what's left over, but I don't want it, because then I have to pay that back. So the same for me, even when I went to grad school. When I decided to go to grad in 2015, and I got my degree in mental health counseling, clinical mental health counseling, I said I had a goal. I did not want to accrue more than $35,000 total coming out. My program was like a $60,000 program, and I probably took out about a good $22,000, and just paid the rest out of pocket. So, yes, there was a lot I could have did with that money, but between undergrad and grad school, I came out with a total of 35,000 and some change, and that's pretty much the goal I had in mind. I did not want to come out, because it's a counseling degree, so I know I'm not going to come out making six figures. You can if you get into your private practice and once you get fully licensed and so on and so forth, but I don't typically work that fast paced. So I was like, because I was in grad school for almost 4 years. And when I finished grad school, that's when the pandemic hit, basically, probably like a few months later. So with the interest being ceased on that, they, took away their interest, I probably paid about a good, 7,000 off of it. So because again, of the interest. And I remember even earlier, I would put money on my student loans, and I'm like, why don't it seem like it's going down? Well, it's going towards interest. Interest sucks. So even with this student loan, a lot of people were angry about the student loan forgiveness. You know what? I don't care. I don't even think it's going to go through anyway. I can care less about getting a forgiveness or 10,000, if they can just keep off the interest, to me that's just as good. So I'm totally fine with the interest off. And but I realized I could have been taking more of an advantage with the student loan interest not being accrued. So to anyone out there that has student loans, uh, maybe make it part of your goal is to take advantage of this time our loans are not accruing interest and to put money on it and big payments. A lot of times we can, like I was looking at, I was in Best Buy and I was looking at some TVs and I was like, oh, I can use a bigger TV. I want to upgrade so bad. There's a few things I would like to get, but I decided, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to really focus on getting my student loan paid off because, and even at the point where I don't even mind taking, say, money out of a savings to put towards it, because at the end of the day, you can build up a savings faster than paying off debt. So again, savings, you can build faster than paying off debt. So, and it's nothing worse than having debt. And even though it's student loan debt, that's still debt and that's still money you got to put towards a payment per month with interest. Interest sucks. I don't care. I don't like it at all. So, to anyone out there, young people, do not feel like you got to take out a whole full loans if it's offered to you. That's not necessary. If they're offering you $20,000 and your class is at 10,000, only take out that 10,000. You got books or whatever, paid out of pocket. Look into some 2-year schools. You can always do a 2-year community college and then transfer on to an undergrad. So if your only option is to take out a loan, just make sure to take out what you need. Don't feel like you got to go to a school that's $50,000 a year, $40,000 a year, even $30,000 a year. Heck, knowing what I would know now, I wouldn't even go to a school that's $20,000 a year. There's plenty of good schools you can go to that's under $20,000, because nowadays they're starting to value more experience and knowledge. Don't get me wrong. I think college is great. Some people will go, oh, see, that's why college is not necessary. No, college helps to expand your mind. It helps you to network. You get to meet and be exposed to different types of people. That's why it's called a university, like the universe. You got different things in the universe. You know, you got the stars and different planets and so forth. University is the same thing. You got different ethnicities, races of people, cultures. The information is vast. You come across professors, and you know your brain will be blown out for how much information they know and how much they've seen, and just listen to other people's stories and places they've traveled. So you can get that in life if you like travel around, but it's amazing to get that experience at a young age in college because it helps you to gravitate and transition into life a little more seamlessly. But don't feel like you got to pay $50,000 for life experience. You don't have to do that. And there's places out here that charge a lot less than that to get that same experience. So just my sense. So I hope we're able to accomplish at least one or two goals or intentions into this new year. I've definitely decided that, you know, this student loan, I really want to get this paid down. Again, that's my only debt. And I'm actually going to another video. I'm going to share my testimony because I used to be in terrible debt. And it was so bad that I literally got delivered a summons at my door years ago. Yes. So I'm going to share that story in more in detail. But again, Happy New Year to everyone. Let's focus on taking advantage of interest not being accrued on student loans and try to pay off our debt. And if you think about it, biblically, we shouldn't even be in debt. Like if there's certain stories in the Bible where God may have blessed someone or put someone in the presence of an individual, like the woman with the oil. And the first thing God instructed her to do was to pay off all her debtors. So there's a couple of stories like that where it's like pay off your debtors or pay off what you owe. We're supposed to be paying off our debt. We're not supposed to be in debt. You literally are a slave to the lender. You are. It damages your credit report. It's just damaging in general. So don't feel the need to take out a lot of money. And feel free to educate yourself on money, specifically student loans, the lingo on student loans, subsidized versus subsidized, private loans versus the federal loan. Never, ever, ever. I don't care. Some people say, well, do, what you want. No, never take out private loans under any conditions. So, yeah, that's it. I hope everyone have a good day. I'm going to put out another video in a couple of days. I think I may use that video to share my testimony just about my whole debt experience. I don't know, maybe not. And yeah, and hey, feel free to share in your comments, like if you're in debt, and if so, how are you going about, getting it paid off, or maybe share your story in the comments, and it can be enlightening for someone, because I know now that watching videos and reading comments go hand in hand. So sometimes one person's experience can help someone else out. But yeah, what are your thoughts on student debt? If college is even worth it now, and yeah, go from there. So welcome to Bison Sense, and I'm going to end it on the note of getting out of financial debt, specifically with student loans, because it's holding a lot of people back. All right, stay seated, and I'll see you on the next vid. Peace.